You ever go back and watch something you used to love, only to feel embarrassed for even being a fan? That's exactly where we are with Love and Marriage, Huntsville right now. This isn't just about ratings dropping a little, or 1 or 2 slow episodes. No, this feels like watching your favorite singer forget all the lyrics at a concert they begged people to attend. It's not just a stumble, it's a complete unraveling. The fall-off is real. And it's not only in the numbers, it's in the heart and soul of the show. And right in the middle of this chaos? Martell. The man who once had people rooting for his redemption story is now knee-deep in one of the messiest backfires reality TV has seen in a long time. Let's talk numbers first, so we understand how far this has gone. Back in its glory days, Love and Marriage, Huntsville pulled in strong, loyal viewership. But now? One of the most recent episodes barely scraped together 197,000 viewers. Just let that sit for a second. That's less than the actual population of Huntsville. It's like the whole city collectively decided, nah, we're good. And honestly, can you blame them? The drama stopped feeling fun. It stopped being real. It started to feel forced, like the producers were throwing anything they could at the wall, even if it meant setting the whole house on fire. But here's where things went from bad to completely unbelievable. Apparently, Martell had been cooking up a plan behind the scenes, a full-on soap opera twist. The rumor is he was trying to bring Arionne, yes, that Arionne, into the main cast. The same woman who played a huge part in breaking up his marriage with Melody. The same woman who's been throwing shade at Melody online for years. Martell allegedly wanted her front and center, full camera time, a seat at the reunion, maybe even replacing Melody altogether. Like, sir, what? This wasn't just another side chick drama. This was a full-blown attempt at flipping the cast and changing the entire show's dynamic. Fans were not having it. The backlash was instant and loud. Social media lit up with people saying, "We don't want her on our screens." Period. Viewers who had put up with stretched-out storylines and tired feuds were suddenly ready to walk away. And it wasn't just because of Arionne, it was because it felt like the show had officially lost its direction. OWN caught wind of Martell's little scheme and shut it down quick. No trial runs, no testing the waters, just a firm absolutely not. And for OWN, that's saying a lot. They usually don't step in like that unless it's serious. But they knew this move would anger their core audience, the same audience that made the show a success to begin with. Meanwhile, Melody went completely silent. No Instagram posts. No promotions. No birthday shoutouts. Nothing. Then, after weeks of silence, she finally posted a cryptic quote, "Sometimes silence speaks louder than the noise." That hit people hard. It didn't feel random, it felt like a statement. Maybe even a goodbye. Almost like she'd already checked out mentally and was just waiting for the rest of the cast to catch up. Stormi also jumped into the mix, dropping a shady Instagram story before deleting it. Destiny started liking posts that hinted something major was going on behind the scenes. Slowly, all the puzzle pieces started falling into place. This wasn't just a slow season, this was an implosion. A perfect storm of egos, bad choices, and desperation. And all eyes went back to Martell. When your master plan crashes this hard, you can't just blame editing. Carlos King, the show's creator, saw the heat building. But instead of trying to cool things down, he doubled down. He's built this reality TV empire brick by brick, and he wasn't about to let critics or fans tell him how to run it. So when people started calling the show a sinking ship, Carlos clapped back online, saying, "I love when people outside the club try to tell me how the club works. That head big don't come for me unless I send for you energy." But here's the thing, sometimes the people outside the club are the very same people who built it in the first place. And those fans? They weren't feeling dismissed. The truth is, they weren't nitpicking for fun. They were seeing what was right in front of them. The storylines were drying up, the emotional depth was gone, and instead, we were getting louder arguments, empty fights, and brand new cast members dominating screen time without adding anything real. Take Ken and Trish, for example. They showed up out of nowhere and suddenly had more screen time than longtime cast members like Maurice, Kimmy, the Fletchers, and the Whitlows combined. But instead of bringing excitement, it felt like a panic move to fill airtime. And here's another thing. While cable ratings were sinking, YouTube clips from the show were doing surprisingly well. Short clips of drama were pulling in thousands of views online. But that wasn't the win Carlos seemed to think it was. It wasn't growth, it was migration. Fans weren't watching the full episodes anymore. They were just cherry-picking the messy bits. It's like skipping dinner and only eating dessert sweet for a moment, but it doesn't satisfy. People weren't watching to connect anymore. They were watching to criticize. To say, see? I told you it fell off. And that energy was spreading fast. Even cast members who used to proudly promote the show were posting less. Interviews were flat. You could almost feel the tension coming through social media. Stormy's deleted story wasn't just shade, it was a warning sign. Then came the real panic. OWN executives started calling emergency meetings not production meetings, but actual damage control meetings. They weren't just dealing with a dip in ratings anymore, they were watching the brand itself take a hit. This show used to be about Black excellence, success, family, and real-life struggles. Now, it was starting to look like just another toxic reality train wreck. Behind the scenes, the mood turned icy. Cast members who used to laugh and hug at press events were now keeping their distance. On-screen chemistry was gone. Even the arguments felt different, less entertaining, and more exhausting. The live tweets and hashtags that used to light up during every episode? Barely there anymore. The fan community that once celebrated each premiere now acted like the show didn't even exist. Martell's failed plan to bring Arionne in was only the tip of the iceberg. The real problem ran deeper. The heart of the show had stopped beating. And Melody's silence that hurt fans the most. She had been the emotional anchor of the series. Her story of strength, survival, and reinvention inspired so many women. And when she went quiet, it felt like the last bit of authenticity had walked out the door. Meanwhile, Martell became the symbol of everything that was wrong. Not because he made mistakes, everyone does, but because he refused to grow from them. Instead of changing, he stayed stuck in the same cycle: blame, deflect, repeat. When he tried to give Arionne a spot on the main stage, it was almost like he was daring the audience to leave. And they did. Ken and Trish were supposed to bring new life to the series, but instead they brought noise, lots of yelling, over-the-top scenes, and dramatic one-liners. It all felt hollow, like it was manufactured in a writer's room. And as the original cast members faded into the background, fans noticed. People didn't start watching Love and Marriage, Huntsville for Ken and Trish. They tuned in for Melody and Martell, for Maurice and Kimmy, for real stories with history and roots. Replacing that with empty chaos was like swapping a home-cooked soul food dinner for greasy fast food. It might fill you up for a moment, but it leaves you empty. Now, OWN faces a choice. Keep pretending the show is fine or admit it's bleeding out. The saddest part? Everyone saw this coming: the fans, the network, the cast. They all watched as the train slowly slid off the tracks. But no one pulled the brakes. Now, they're standing in the wreckage, trying to figure out how it went so wrong and whether it's too late to save it. At this point, Love and Marriage, Huntsville isn't just fighting for ratings, it's fighting for its soul. What made this show special in the first place wasn't just the glitz, the drama, or the jaw-dropping moments. It was the heart. It was the fact that we saw real marriages, real friendships, and real struggles play out in a way that felt authentic. We watched people build businesses, raise families, heal from heartbreak, and still come together for a greater purpose. Even when the arguments got loud, there was always a message underneath, a reminder that love, unity, and community mattered. But now, that heartbeat is fading. The episodes feel like filler, the arguments feel staged, and the love feels forced. It's like watching a family you care about slowly drift apart while pretending everything's fine. Melody's silence still speaks the loudest. For years, she carried herself with grace, even through public humiliation, betrayal, and rebuilding her life from the ground up. She showed women everywhere that you can be broken and still rise. But now, her absence is like a warning siren for the audience. If she's not invested anymore, why should they be? Martell, on the other hand, had every chance to turn things around. He could have shown growth, humility, and self-awareness. Instead, he doubled down on the same behavior that tore his life apart in the first place. By even thinking about giving Arionne a seat at the table, he sent a clear message: chaos over connection, shock value over substance.